It's an indication of a person's yiras shamayim, indication of a person's modesty. That's a big lesson in the Gemara. Therefore, the Gemara has no problem having a lot of discussion about it because it's a very big part of Torah. We find, good morning, oh, look who's here, Jojo, good to see you. We find that Abraham and Sarah, when the angels came to Avram's house, to Avram's tent, what did the angels say? Aye, Sarah ishtecha. Where's Sarah your wife, right? And we have a chatan, so it's point to talk about the Jojo's a chatan, by the way. So she's on the face. So they say, where is Sarah your wife? Where is Sarah your wife? Now they knew where Sarah was. These angels, they knew where Sarah was. Where was Sarah? Sarah was in the tent. So what does Avram say? Hinei ba'ohel. He said she's in the tent. What was the point of that? They were just reiterating her modesty. Where is she? She's in the tent. Rabbi Feinstein says she's so modest, you don't even know she's there. I mean, she's right behind the curtain. You don't even know. Sometimes there are people, they want to make you know that I'm here. Type people. There's some people that are very modest. So when Avram was to the angels, to the men, which he thought were men, she didn't. She took care of the women. He took care of the men. So she was busy working in the kitchen, but that was the level of modesty. And he wanted. And what was the point? To bring out how modest Sarah is. So that's our mothers of old, so to speak, are the role models of modesty. Were the role models of modesty, and therefore we have to. It's a big deal. So we have Samach Beis and Aleph in the Art Scroll. It's 62 A number 3. 62A number 3. So the last thing we were up to was the following. We brought 2 different opinions regarding one going to the, when a person is relieving oneself, how far does he have to move away from the people, that the people shouldn't see him when he's relieving himself. Remember, they did not have bathrooms like we have today. Mori Yosef Tzaddik. And that was the discussion that we had yesterday. We had 2 opinions. One opinion says that if you have a fence, then you could use the bathroom right behind the fence. You could relieve yourself right behind the fence, even though there are people that are walking by. But as long as you're behind the fence, you're behind the curtain, so to speak, there's no problem. The other opinion says, and therefore the fact that someone might hear the sounds, what's going on in that bathroom, it's not a problem according to that opinion. And if you're in the field, as long as you go a distance in the field, it's an open area. If you're in the valley, there's no wall in the valley. So as long as you're far away, that no one can hear you. No, even so, according to the first opinion, even if someone could technically see you, as long as they can't hear and see you, it's fine. That's the first opinion. Even though they could see you, there's an opinion that says that it's not a problem. However, good morning, good to see you. But however, the other opinion says no. The other opinion says you have to make sure that both conditions are met. If your friend cannot hear you and cannot see you, he says therefore, in back of the fence, if you're going to make a fence where you're going to use the bathroom, you should make the fence a little bit away, in a way that that you're not so close that people are passing by, they can hear what's going on. You're using the bathroom. And similarly, if you're in the valley, good morning, Mr. Haber. If you're in the valley, you have to go far away in the valley enough, not only that they're not going to hear you, but they also shouldn't see you. That is the 2 opinions in the Gemara. Okay, good morning. Good morning, everybody who's on the screen. We say good morning to everybody and to Mr. Haber as well. So those were 2 opinions in the Gemara, okay? We're talking about modesty, how far a person has to go when one needs to relieve oneself. That's the issue. Good morning. We have Morris Franco on it as well. Joined us. So the Gemara in the Art Scroll 62a 3. We're on the bottom of the page. If you look, Nathan, right over here, Meitive, on 62a3. Everyone have it? Aaron? Good morning, Aaron. You got it? Good morning, Mr. Haber, right here on the bottom, 62a3. So the Gemara says the following. Meitive. This is what we were in the middle yesterday. There's a Masechta called Taharot. And in the Mishnah over there says that they were the people who were watching the Taharot, the people that were watching the oil, that the oil should not become tamei. And one of the ways that the oil could become tamei is if the workers are uneducated, very uneducated in Torah and Mitzvot, and if they would touch it, it would make the Taharot tamei. Those people, the Am Haaretz, the rabbis gave a status that if they touch the stuff, it will make it tamei. Has the ability, they're touching. Generally, if a person, touch oil or anything, any food, if you have a fruit, once the fruit came in contact with water, then it's susceptible to become tamei. If someone who's tamei touches it, let's say a dead mouse would touch it, it would make it tamei. If a dead body in the room of a dead person becomes tamei, then they also created a tumah of an am haaretz. That am haaretz, most probably because he's not familiar with laws, he's not cognizant of all different things. So they gave a status that if his hands touch something, it also could make the thing tamei. Today's day and age. Good morning, Jaime. We're not dealing with truma. The main thing is that you can't make tamei something like truma, something that's holy. You can't make tamei. We're not dealing with truma. But in those days when they were dealing a lot with truma and other things, so therefore there was a lot of focus on being careful not to make something tamei. So now the rabbis, if you were running an olive press and you were watching the oil, you were the mashkiach, you were the supervising agent to make sure that just like today we have such a concept, let's say with wine, that the goyim can't be involved with wine, that not non-cooked wine, right? They can't be handling they can't be pouring non-cooked wine. So there are certain things that we have to watch to make sure that the goy is not handling the non-cooked wine, right? That's why every wedding that you go to, the bottles of wine are all cooked, because the people that are serving the wine at the wedding are generally not Jewish people that are pouring the wine behind the bar or whatever it is. So therefore, the wine has to be cooked wine, because the rabbis only made a prohibition on non-cooked wine if the Gentile would. So there's certain things. Yes. You have to talk a little louder because everybody wants to hear your holy voice.
You have a bottle that's not
if it's not cooked,
I open it on my own.
If you open the bottle of not cooked wine, okay. Right. Right, you didn't finish the bottle. If you hide it and the Gentile doesn't handle it, there's no problem. The only problem is if the Gentile actually handles the non-cooked wine once the non-cooked wine was open. Once it was open. Once the bottle was open, meaning it's not a new bottle. Some wine was poured out. If you have a sealed, who are the people that are delivering all the wine? Deliverers of the wine. It's not sealed, but as long as the Gentile didn't handle, even the Gentile would technically, then maybe Hasidim might be makpid, even if the Gentile sees it. But we don't go that far. We just say if as long so he just finishes the whole bottle. No, don't waste any time. Okay, but we're not on that level of stringency. As long as they don't handle it, touch it, once it was open, you're fine. Good? Okay. Unless the Sfardim have this stringency. Yeah, they would pour out wine. They used to pour wine to the avodah zarah. That's the origin, one of the main reasons why. The only wine that they poured for avodah zarah was wine that was non-cooked wine, the better wine. But the cooked wine is not considered the better wine. Even today, the cooked wine, anybody who's a connoisseur of wine, the good wines are not cooked, generally speaking. Correct? Yes.
Sorry, if it's a little late, but going back to the olives.
Make it. No, very good. So what's the connection? Right, great. So the Gemara, very good, Jojo. So the Gemara is going to use this. The Gemara is going to talk about the case of the wine, of the olive press, of the oil. It's going to talk about what does the watchman, the supervising agent, do when he needs to use the bathroom. So once he needs the bathroom, he's going to be moving. He's going to be creating a distance between himself and the olive press. And the question is, how far could he go away that we say that he's still considered that we don't have to worry that maybe an uneducated person will come in and touch the oil. The question is, if he needs the bathroom, how do we deal with that? There's no one to take over for him. It's not like you have another guy, another mashgiach going to take over. He goes out of the room. So what do you do? That's what the Gemara is going to discuss. And we're going to see from the Gemara how far he has to go away, and we're going to see. Look. He might still, how far he has to go away will be in sync with one opinion and not the other opinion. That's the setup of the Gemara. Okay, is it clear?
Yes.
So, I'm saying, but once the issue is whether that uneducated Jew, the Amaret is when he steps out. We're just concerned that that Amaret, that uneducated, should not touch the oil. So what does it say? Why? Because if he touches the oil, it will make the oil tameh. No, because the uneducated, the same way, our hands, the rabbi said our hands have a status of tum'ah. It's called the sheni l'tum'ah. Why do you wash? The rabbi said that people's hands touch all different things. The rabbis put a rabbinic status of tumah on one's hands, and that's why before you eat bread, one of the reasons, we have two reasons why you wash your hands before you eat bread. One reason is for cleanliness. If you're going to eat, the rabbis want cleanliness is godliness, so to speak. Your hands should be clean, and therefore before you eat the bread, your hands should be clean. But the other reason that's brought down is that in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, when they ate the trumah, the Kohanim have to be very careful because their food was truma. A lot of their food was truma that they got. We gave the Kohanim food. And they're not allowed to make truma, you're not allowed to make tameh. You're not allowed to contaminate truma. Now the rabbis put a status on one's hand that they have a status of tuma because of all the things that you do, and you handle all different things, you touch different things. How do you remove the tuma from your hands? By washing your hands. That removes the tumah. So the Kohanim, before they would eat bread, before they would eat trumah, they had to wash their hands because they have to make sure, because their hands have a status of the tumah. Everybody's hands have a status of tumah. But if my hands are tameh, it doesn't have any ramifications. If I don't have to eat, my food is not trumah. So if my food becomes contaminated, it's not a contamination, it has any effect, any problem, any restriction. But a Kohen who eats truma, if his hands touch truma, he's handling truma, there's a problem. He made the truma contaminated. So what does he have to do? He has to wash his hands before he eats the truma. Okay, that will remove any contamination. So the rabbis say not only do the Kohanim have to wash their hands, but the rabbis today say, see what they did in the old days, that not only the Kohanim wash their hands, the Yisrael also, before he eats bread, has to wash his hands. Why? Because we want everybody, because if we're going to wash our hands, the Kohanim are going to wash their hands. And the Levim didn't have the issue like the Kohanim. And if everybody's going to be doing that, so when the Beit HaMikdash is rebuilt, the Kohanim are going to be in shape. They're going to be trained to wash their hands before they eat, because they already were doing that all these years when the Beit HaMikdash is not around. So therefore, that's the reason why We all wash our hands before we eat. One of the main reasons, well, before we eat bread, because we want because we're interested in helping the Kohanim to ensure that the Kohanim will be in that training. By us doing it, if only the Kohanim will be asked to do it and everybody else doesn't do it, it might be harder for the Kohanim to be on top of their game. Everybody does it. The Kohanim are on top of their game now, and the application will be when Mashiach will come, they'll be in the training. That's why we wash our hands before we eat the bread, to remove that tumah from the hands, but it's only to help the Kohanim be in their training in good shape, so that when the Mashiach will come, they'll already be trained before they eat their tumah to wash their hands. That's the reason, one of the main reasons. Jaime, I think I said hello to you before, but I don't know if you heard it, so I just want to.
Heard it. Thank you,
okay.
And good morning to you.
Good morning. Yes. Okay, so now that's the issue, because that's the ability to contaminate something. So the same way the rabbis, so they also created some sort of contamination on the hands of the Am Haaretz, which would mean the Am Haaretz, even if he washed his hands, it would seem the Am Haaretz has a status of tumah. We have to see, but the Am Haaretz touches something. The Am Haaretz, if he touches the food, he will contaminate the food. That's the law by Am Haaretz. There's a big word called an ignoramus. It's not. I don't think it's a nice word to say to somebody. It's a bad word to say. But that's the Am Haaretz. He's so uneducated in anything, and therefore they gave certain status to it. If he has the ability to make tamei, we would have to look up if he washes his hands what the status would be. But generally, if he touches something, it makes it tamei. Okay, so now the watchman who's watching the oil, he needs to go to the bathroom. So what does he do? How far does he have to travel to move? How far is he allowed to go away from the olive press that will say that we're not concerned that someone else is going to come in? The Am Haaretz, uneducated Jews, going to come in and touch the olive. So what does the Gemara Mishnah say? No, because we're afraid again. The watchman is not an Am Haaretz. The watchman is a mashkiach. He's the rabbi. He's the supervising agent. But the question is, he needs to use the bathroom. So how far? What is he able to do? So the Gemara says, Yotzim mi Pesach by Sabbat. He goes outside the entranceway of the olive press. V'nifnim. We're on the bottom of 62a. 3, bottom line. He goes away from the entranceway of the olive press, and he relieves himself back of the fence, and the oil is tahar. He didn't go far. He went very, very short distance, right outside the fence, right outside the fence that's next to the entranceway of the olive press. So there's very little time for somebody to come in because if you to go ahead and touch the oil, because the supervising agent just went right near the entranceway of the olive press, and therefore we're not concerned. The rabbi said you don't have to be concerned that short period of time that you left, that maybe an Am Haaretz uneducated came into the olive press and touched the oil. Now, so what do we see? We see that you could go ahead and relieve oneself right in back of the fence, even though you're very close proximity to the olive press, and people could hear the sounds of the while using the bathroom. And the Gemara is saying this is in sync with one opinion. As long as nobody sees you, we're not concerned that someone else could hear what's going on in the bathroom, right? The other opinion said you have to be a distance. Not only they can't see you, they can't hear what's going on in the bathroom, right? Is that clear, Nathan? And this opinion, we see from here that we don't even require that. We're not sensitive to that. As long as they don't see you in the bathroom, that's good enough. So the Gemara says that's not a knockout on that opinion. You know why? Because this is a special case. The uniqueness of the case, as Mr. Haber used to like to say, case, law, and reason. The case is different, is unique, then the law could be different. That means to say, we heard about in life something called exceptions to the rule. That means the general case is when a person needs the bathroom, that opinion holds you have to be at a distance that nobody sees you and nobody hears what's going on in the bathroom. However, in the case of taharot, in the case of when you're a supervising agent and you're protecting that the oil does not become unclean, when we have a problem, because what are we supposed to do? You have to ensure that the oil does not become contaminated. The rabbis eased up and they said, as long if you need to use the bathroom, we'll make an allowance for you that you don't have to go ahead in that far distance that nobody could hear you. As long as you are not exposed to people, you're back of the fence, that's good enough. We're not going to require the general requirement of both nobody seeing you and nobody hearing you in the bathroom, because of this uniqueness of the situation that we're in, that we need you to be close to the olive press and to ensure that nobody's going to come in who could contaminate the stuff. Oh, very good. Say it again. It should be whatever need that he right, because if there's a need to go out for a short period of time that will be similar to that, should be also fine. Now, the Gemara asks from the end of the Mishnah, Tashma, Kama Yirachaku v'yu Torim. Now, here is maybe a little bit of more of Nathan's question. The Gemara says, in general, how far can the person go at? How far can the person leave the olive press? The watchman leave the olive press, and we don't have to be concerned that something happened while he left the olive press. Right? He's a supervising agent. He's the mashgiach. How far is he able to go? So the Gemara says, so the Mishnah says, Kedei she'ero'eh, as long as the watchman could see, because his eyes are on the olive press, that he could see if anybody is walking, is coming through. That is the main thing. As long as he's able to see somebody coming, he's able to, that's the distance but if he can't see, if he goes a distance that he can't see somebody coming, so then he's not able to go that far. So now, if he needs to use the bathroom and there's no fence, so what does he do? So according to this, he has to ensure that he could see the person who is coming, if anybody's coming to the olive press, he has to be able to see. So now that if he needs to use the bathroom, he's let's say out in the field, and let's say there's no fence there, he could go ahead and so it says over here, if there's no fence, he's allowed to go ahead and use the bathroom, even though, let's see the language, Kedei she'ero'eh. So let's see the language again. So he says, how far is the watchman able to go, and that we're going to say that the oil will be tahar, Kedei she'ero'eh, only if the watchman could see the amaretz if he touches the oil. And this is a second part of the Mishnah. Now, so now, here's the point. So he says, now if he's going to go out in the field and he's going to watch, he's going to be able to see anybody coming in. That means they're going to be able to see him. If he's going to be able to see them, that means they're going to be able to see him. We said he can't go further away that he can't see the person coming, right? We said he has to be in a distance that he could see a person coming into the, so if he's relieving himself, he can see the person, so the person is seeing him. Okay, so that's what the Gemara is going to answer also. The Gemara is going to say a similar answer to what we said before. So the Gemara's question is that it seems to be again, that's the end of the Mishnah, but Nathan is asking, we already gave, and the Gemara is going to answer that answer, that it's different. We're more lenient by the person who's going to because you have to protect the oil does not become contaminated. But the Gemara's question is from, meaning here's a new case. The first case of the Mishnah was talking about going to the bathroom back of the fence. And we allowed you to go back of the fence even though somebody else hears you. The second part of the Mishnah says, we allow you to be in a spot that someone could see you. We allow you that, so the Gemara is asking, since you are relieving yourself close enough that somebody could see you, that seems to be a contradiction to the rabbi that says you have to make sure that nobody could see you, right? Meaning there's a rabbi that says not only they can't see you, they can't hear you. And the end of the Mishnah says that you're allowed to relieve yourself in a place that if you're the watchman, we allow you to go out in the field, even though they could see you. That's the Gemara's question. And the Gemara's answer is going to be like what Nathan said before. We're going to make a leniency that we allow you that they could even see you, because to ensure that the high road that not become contaminated. So that's what the Gemara is going to answer. The Gemara is morning avi shiny, but then you can ask the question. Nathan's asking the following. Let me tell you what Nathan's really asking. What's the Gemara's question? We just said we make an allowance for the supervising agent to go ahead and compromise general modesty in order to ensure that the oil did not become contaminated. So what's the Gemara's question from the second part of the Mishnah? The reason why we make that allowance is because to protect that the food did not become contaminated. But maybe the Gemara was thinking that maybe it's one thing to make an allowance, that the rabbi would agree to make an allowance to that someone else could hear you, but you're covered. But to say that we make an allowance also that you can actually be seen, right? But here the second part of the mission is saying you actually could be able to be seen. As long as you're at a distance that they can't hear you, it's good enough. So maybe the Gemara was thinking that the rabbi would not accept. That would be a very strong question on the rabbi. He would not accept that as an allowance, and that would be unacceptable to him. And therefore, if it says that that's good enough, that would be a refutation, his opinion. And then the Gemara says the same thing the Gemara said before. They extended the allowance even to be able to see somebody when you're in a field, which is you're exposed. But since you're not close enough that he could hear you, that he could hear what's going on, it's good enough because they wanted to ensure that the food did not become contaminated. Therefore, they eased up even in that situation. So let's see the Gemara. Shiny ochli tahirot the kill barabana. They were lenient to protect the oil, and therefore they didn't require as much modesty that they generally would require. That's the modesty in the bathroom Avi we're talking about. That's what the Gemara says. So therefore, it's not a refutation, that opinion. Therefore, the Gemara says that opinion could hold in general. If a person needs a bathroom, they're going out in the field, they have to go further away. Not only they can't hear you while using the bathroom, they can't even see you. But if you find an exception to the rule, that's a special exception that they made. If you're a watchman and they want to ensure that the food did not become contaminated, they did not require the normal level of modesty that you generally have to do. Mr. Haber, is that clear? Nathan, is that clear? Okay. Now, Rav Ashi Amar, good morning, Mr. Cohen. Rav Ashi says a different thing. Rav Ashi says, Mahu kol zman she'en chaver roeh. What does it mean when we allowed you, see, in the Sefer of the Mishnah, when we allowed you to go a distance, and we said, kol zman she'en chaver roeh, right? The Sefer says in the Mishnah, it means like this. Rav Isi Bar Nosson said that when you go ahead and when a person, this is the state where when a person uses the bathroom, he has to use the bathroom in a way that his friend doesn't see him. It means like this. That only means that they can't see his exposed part of his body. But the fact that they see each other is not a problem. The main thing is you can't see the part of his body that's exposed. But you could go ahead and if you see the other person, that would not be a problem. So therefore, that's how we can explain the Mishnah. The watchman goes far away, as far away that they cannot see, as long as they cannot see his exposed part is fine. The fact that he could see who's coming, and the guy could see him, but they're not able to see his exposed part. That's fine. The Gemara's problem was that we said that the guy has to be able to see the other guy. If the guy has to be able to see the other guy, so the Gemara was thinking, if you see the other guy, that means you're gonna, if you're using the bathroom, you're seeing him, he's seeing you, and you're gonna be exposed. So the Gemara says, no. The fact that he's seeing you and you're seeing him, it means to say that you see each other, but you're still at a distance that they can't, but you're far enough away that they can't see your exposed part, but you're still able to see the other person. So therefore, according to this, they did not let down the level of modesty in such a situation. He still held the level of modesty when the watchman went to the bathroom that nobody was able to see his exposed part. The fact that you still were able to watch the oil. That's the main thing, that you have to go ahead and go far away enough that you could see the guy, but he can't see your exposed part. Okay, so you see, it's amazing the details of the Gemara, that the Gemara the details of modesty. How far we have to understand exactly what is asked of us, Mr. Feldman. What is asked of us when we go in all situations? What's asked of a person regarding how he has to conduct himself in a bathroom? If you're a watchman, it doesn't mean because you're a watchman you have a job to do to watch the oil that doesn't become contaminated from the Amoris. Therefore, all laws of sniut, modesty, goes away because I have a job. No, we have to figure out how to. At the same time, I got to go ahead and watch the oil. At the same time, I still have to figure out how to the best of my ability of being modest when I need to use the bathroom. When a woman gives birth, a man's also there's a modesty there. A man's not supposed to be watching. This is the idea, I think, in the world, out there in the secular world, that to watch the baby come out, it's not modest. A man's not supposed to be looking at that spot. It's technically in halacha, there's one spot, the woman's body, that a man can't look at. If that's the spot is the only spot that the halacha says, technically, again, when a lady's a nidah, of course, you can't, there's many other spots you can't look at. When anything that's generally covered, you can't look at when a lady's a nidah. Or when a wife, we're talking about a wife, when a wife is a nidah, the normal covered spots of her body are forbidden for a man to look at. Therefore, a woman has to be extra careful when she's getting dressed, and so on and so forth. There's a modesty. She can't expose herself in front of her husband when she's a nidah. When she's not a nidah, of course, the women are modest. Even when she's not a nidah, they're sensitive to their modesty. But at the end of the day, when she's not a nidah, with time that a woman is permitted to the husband, the only part of the body that the man is forbidden to look at is the front bottom. That's the halacha. Person has to be aware of that. And therefore, what you were asking about childbirth, I presume you were alluding to this idea that people watch the baby come out. They're not allowed to watch the baby come out. So that's according to Jewish law. People don't know about it. People maybe don't talk about it enough. I don't know. But now here we are. We went on record. It made it very, 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 very. What? I'm just saying. I call it the way it is. I gotta say it. Can't be afraid. The rabbis can't be afraid to say what the law is, and that's the law. And we have to respect it. We have to follow it. What? That's the halacha. It says in Shulchan Aruch, if a person looks at the woman's front bottom, it's removes shame from him. It removes shame from a person. Jewish people are baishanim. We have something called shame, and if we look at something that we shouldn't look at, it takes away that sensitivity of shame that we have, and that's what we need to, and that's part of the modesty of the Jewish people. Okay. So the Gemara continues. Who safdana? There was a safdan. There was a person who would a eulogizer. They had professional eulogizers. And when a person, let's say, would pass away after 120, they would give a proper eulogy. There's a special mitzvah to honor the person who passed away and to talk about their great deeds. It's a great honor to the mate, and it has to be done right. The halacha talks about how it's supposed to be done right. There's a siman in Shulchan Aruch. What is a person, like anything in life? You have to do right. The person who eulogizes has to give a proper eulogy. And what happened? There was a funeral in front of Rav Nachman, and this eulogizer, he said about the person who passed away, this guy was very modest in his ways. That's what they said about the guy. Very modest guy. That's what they spoke about. Let's say the guy's name was Harry. Harry, who passed away, was a very, very modest guy. So Rav Nachman said to the eulogizer, he said, did you go with him into the bathroom? Did you watch him in the bathroom? You knew that he's so modest? Do you know that if he's modest, if you do not know that if he was modest in the bathroom, you can't say that he's modest. Modesty, if you say that you call a person really modest, the rabbi says really modest, the word sanua, the Tanya, ain't korin snua, el lemi shetznua bebeit hakisei. You only call somebody modest if he's modest in the bathroom. That means he acts with modesty. He doesn't uncover himself earlier than necessary. He covers himself when he's relieving himself. He doesn't uncover earlier than necessary. And when he finishes, he covers himself as soon as he can. That's part of the modesty. That shows the modesty doesn't only mean in the bathroom, but if a person is modest in the bathroom, it's indicative in general of how modest he is in general. And therefore, to be called a tznuah, you can't call him a tznuah unless you know how he acts in the bathroom. And the Gemara is going to say, what's the problem? Tomorrow we'll see in the Gemara, what's the problem by giving a guy a praise that he's not worthy of? And we'll see, because if you give a guy a praise that's not worthy of, so one idea is in heaven, they're going to say, you're saying about him something. Is it true? It's not true. So maybe we're going to hold the guy accountable. Maybe the person, Harry, who passed away, you said he was something that he was not. And maybe Harry should have been that. So Harry should be taken to task for it. So don't say something about the guy, but we'll see. You could say a little bit more, but you shouldn't create new things that didn't exist. Have a great day. We'll see tomorrow about it. You can say nice things. Of course, say nice things. Good morning. Of course, you say nice things about the guy. Thank you, Mr. Felder, for sitting in. But don't create things. Create things that don't exist. What? Stay tuned tomorrow.
That's a good tax.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you, everybody.
Morning.
Who is it? Yaron?
Morning, just
Oh, Abba Yaron.
Yes, that was great. Did you tell him how great that
Who is it? Sami Susu there, right here.
Yosef, have a great day. Have a beautiful davening,
You
everybody.
too, Rabbi.
Yeah, I spoke to the rabbi.
You welcome back Avi. You welcome Akiva back. Have a great day, Mr.